nobody can touch me because I would get blacklisted for that.
The persona in the front that we put forward into the universe.
You'd be standing and
Hi, I'm Gabby. Because I will miss that aspect.
something else. Yeah.
You're people, you're not creatures. I'm so sorry. I don't care if you hate me.
No. Tissue paper.
I dated a lot of Sagittarius men, and that just was not working.
Girls love her, boys love her.
And those connections and ideas change. 5% of podcasts don't make it past the first year. Hello, Z-List friends and family. Wow, I'm already off to the great start. The great start. Today has been chaos, and I even actually thought I was filming today an episode with a special guest that's actually coming next week, not this week. So I just figured, I would film an episode by myself since I was already dressed and ready to go. So here we are. We've got my sleeping beauty of a dog right next to me. She is cozy and comfortable. We are back on the pink couch for a change for those of you that are watching on YouTube. So a little bit back to kind of semi-normal. I had loved the lighting in the living room, so I was really leaning into that spot. But I figured I wanted to be back on my pink couch today, just to bring me back to my Z-List roots. So today is we're in our second week of wedding chats. I am officially 2 months and 3 days away from my wedding, which is wild to think about. So this episode's a little bit of a hodgepodge, but stay tuned and listen to it because especially if you're getting married, plan to get married in the future, or honestly want some comical stories at the end and a little bit of drama, I have lots to share today. We're going to kind of go over specifically a little ode to my wedding vendors and that process, a little tea and drama on the wedding vendors that I'm not using and the reasons why. I'm going to do some Reddit stories or wild wedding stories kind of at the end, and I kind of want to play a game of are they the asshole or not the asshole kind of vibes. And yeah, just kind of giving you all of the tea as if we're at coffee and you're asking for my wedding update. So here it is, so you don't have to ask me in person if we are close friends or if you're just kind of looking for that inside world of what it's like to be 2 months out from your wedding. Because honestly, it's wild. Basically, I felt like I was fully planned in the beginning. I got engaged in October last year, we're in November this year, and I felt like I really had everything done by February of this 2023. And now here we are 2 months away from the wedding and it feels like nothing is done. So you have this 3-4 month period where you're just wow, I can breathe, I can relax, I have accomplished everything I need to accomplish. And then all of a sudden you realize you haven't. So let's kind of dive into that, dive into everything that I'm doing. I'm obviously not going to go into too depth of the details of my wedding or what I'm doing, but I'd love to chat about the vendors and the different things that I am going to have. So let's just dive into it. I want to start with my venue. I am actually getting married at the Howie Mansion. It is outside of Orlando. It's kind of in between Tampa and Orlando. I personally, as you guys know, and this is not the first time I've said this, but working in the wedding industry and being, somebody that looks at weddings all day, specifically weddings in Tampa, I knew I needed a switch up and something I don't see a lot, which is funny because the minute I booked the venue, I saw 4 or 5 weddings go through there. So it's not necessarily that it's unique to me anymore, but it's definitely something that I felt I could more customize to myself and not feel like I was copying another wedding or not making it ours. It was really important to me to make it ours. I'll be completely honest, I feel like this wedding, as much as Kyle is so excited for the wedding and everything like that, it's definitely more my vision. He's been great on the support side of whatever you think is best, except for when it came to important things that mattered to him. He's been very flexible, which I feel like you almost need. I feel like if you've got competing ideas or energies, it's not going to work planning a wedding together. But he's been very even keel on what my vision is because, he's I never really thought about a wedding. You've thought about it since you were 5. This is where we're kind of at. So that being said, your style is going to change. I had a vision for my wedding when I was 6. I had a vision for my wedding when I was 16. I had a vision for my wedding at 24, and now here we are, and I had a vision in October last year, and it's completely changed. So kind of being okay with that ebb and flow and choosing things that feel authentic to you as a couple is a really big takeaway that you can have that'll make it easier to not get caught up in trends or things like that. I know it's really easy to fall into what the trends are and all of that kind of stuff, but kind of whittling away from that and just really focusing on what makes you guys happy, what you authentically love. So, without further ado, the Howie Mansion, that is the venue we are getting married at. So far, I haven't had any problems with that. A lot of the stuff that goes into that is you can't really make a lot of like game time decisions until a month out. So they do have property stays on site, which I think is fantastic if you're having a lot of out-of-town guests, to kind of have somewhere for guests to stay. That being said, I was not able to rent the Airbnbs that they have on property the night before, so like rehearsal dinner and then waking up and getting ready there. I won't be able to book them until I believe it's a month out. I was just talking to my planner about that because she's working on our final timeline. And that is my one concern, is if I am not going to be staying in that Airbnb and that's not like our bridal suite, then I do need to find accommodations elsewhere. So that's kind of where we stand on that aspect. But I do like that they have that option for you to rent the mansion out for the night so that you don't have to leave. Your out-of-town guests can have a place to stay, things like that. That was a big selling point for me. It's why I considered a lot of the different spaces that I looked at. I also looked at Bella Cosa, which is absolutely beautiful. Very expensive for what they offer. They basically offer you their property mansion for you to stay in, and then the property, but nothing else. There's no rentals, there's nothing else included. So for that cost, I just decided it wasn't worth that cost with me having to bring everything in. Whereas the Howie's a little bit more accommodating. They have tables, they have chairs. I'm using their chairs for the reception, but I'm using another vendor, which I'll get into, for my ceremony chairs. So like I had the option to still bring in rentals, but they have those rentals for me. They also have tabletop rentals. Just a great way, and we're going to do an episode on finances, but it is a great way to save money. So that's another aspect that I absolutely loved about the Howie Mansion. There are some strict rules about cleanup costs, things like that. You can't really do any hanging of anything from ceilings or altering the venue, which was kind of a bummer because like I did envision certain things like disco balls over a dance floor, and I can't do some of the ceremony exits I wanted. I really wanted like some cool kind of unique ceremony exits, and the cleanup fee is like $750, which is just a cost that I'm not really willing to incur. But that's kind of where the venue's at. As far as music goes, we've got a fantastic friend of ours that is doing our DJing. I'm super excited, and I need to meet with him actually in the next couple of weeks to kind of just solidify, this is my vision, these are songs I don't want, here's your creative freedom. I know he'll do an absolute great job. His name is Rob, and he's DJ'd a lot of parties for us and just been around and really knows our vibe and style. My family being Hispanic, I do want to have like some more Hispanic vibe music at some point, especially when the espressos start flowing and stuff like that. I want it to feel like one of our family reunions, but a celebration of our love instead of that family reunion, but the same kind of style and vibe. So I feel like he'll do a really good job with that. He loves like more of that Hispanic kind of music, so I feel like he'll crush it. As far as other musicians, that was not something I considered, and my mom brought to my attention, and I actually felt like it was a really good call, and like that's a win for Toby. So Toby, if you're listening, that's you win that one. She really, really, really wanted at least his entrance kind of music while people are seating themselves at the ceremony. Kind of wanted like a live musician. I know if I believe I'm correct, I'm speaking for her, so she'll have to correct me later. But she had a harp, I believe, at her wedding. So she was very like, do you want a harp? Do you want a violin? What do you want for this? I did end up booking a cellist. She seems incredible. She's out of Orlando. She does a really, like, from what I've seen online, she's done a very good job. I have not met her in person yet. Very affordable. I feel like that was a really good budget move for me. I think she's on the younger side, so her ability to kind of be more flexible on that. She's just starting out in the industry. If you are trying to budget and save for a wedding, I do think, like, taking a chance on those vendors that, like, are still trying to get their feet wet and get their name out there is a great opportunity for negotiation. I do bring to the table that this wedding is going to have a little bit more exposure than maybe somebody else's just because of the industry I work in and the people that I work with. So I feel like it was a really good opportunity to kind of like take a chance on somebody new. So I'm super excited to see what she does with it. And then another thing that I did, actually, we kind of last minute splurged on. We only booked it last month, which is considered late. Don't wait this late to book your musicians. But I got a live saxophone player who he seems awesome. It was a recommendation actually from one of my friends. Her name is Nikki, and I'm super excited. His name is the Sugar Sax. I think he's going to do a fantastic job. He'll be doing our cocktail hours. So kind of just like that mood setting tone. Obviously the Howie Mansion, it's a very Italian style kind of setup, but I kind of wanted it to feel a little jazzy too. The Howie Mansion comes with this great addition called the Prohibition Room, and that Prohibition Room opens later in the night, and they don't announce it. The DJ is not allowed to announce it. It's kind of a hidden secret underground, literally what it is. It's a Prohibition Room. This mansion was obviously created back during the Prohibition, so it was where they snuck off to sneak their alcohol. So it's super cool. They're going to have like really cool bourbons down there. Kyle's really into bourbon and whiskey and those kinds of things, so I know him and my dad are going to thrive down there. But they basically come and tell the bride and the groom at around like 9-ish that it's open, and then it's our job to bring people down there. It's never announced. We don't have to take anybody down there. We don't want to. It's just kind of private space for people to escape. I'm sure we'll probably tell the bridal party and my parents first, and then kind of go from there. But I'm super excited about that aspect, and since that aspect gives me so much of the 20s and that, flair of that, I do think that the saxophone is going to be a great pairing to that kind of aesthetic and vibe. I've been looking at a lot of gold accents, candelabras, things like that as decor. So I feel like that all kind of ties into each other. For the ceremony, I am using rental chairs. I won't tell you guys exactly. I want some of this to be a surprise when you guys see pictures later. But the chairs that I did get, they did not have at the Howie. So I was like, I'm going to go outside and rent. I am using Kate Ryan Event Rentals for all of my rentals. Kate Ryan is a longtime business friend, and actually one of their employees is one of my very good friends, Drew. So Drew is already attending the wedding and has so graciously, with her husband Chris, offered to kind of help with those rentals, which was a great little cost cut for me that I really needed, that allowed me to kind of get more stuff in from them. So I have my chairs coming from them for the ceremony, which are gorgeous. I feel like it's going to really encompass the whole aesthetic, especially with how we're setting up the aisle. We're doing it a little bit different. I will tell you this. So you can kind of like see, you have options with an aisle. You don't have to do a straight aisle and then it's you and the bridal party standing with you. I think I've expressed in other episodes that the bridal party is not standing with me. We have 8 bridesmaids and 8 groomsmen. So I feel like that was a lot and overwhelming, and I didn't really want it to distract me, to distract Kyle, to distract our guests. I wanted them to be looking at us and zoned into that ceremony. So basically what we're doing instead, there's also sorts of different things. At first we considered doing a circle ceremony where everybody was sitting in different rows of circles. Everybody would be able to see us. I thought that'd be great. We played with a lot of different, we simulated different setups. My planner did a really good job with that. She kind of set up, okay, we could do it this way, we could do it that way. My planner, by the way, her name is Gabby. It's Copper Rivers Event Co. She has been fantastic as well. She's answered any questions I need. This is about the month where she's going to actually step in and really start doing things. So I'm excited to see what that looks like and have more of that help on deck, because a lot of what I've been doing so far has been on my own. So having that little assistant in that is going to be really helpful. I also know day of, she's going to crush it. She is on her game. She's meticulous in the way she handles things, and I'm super excited. But what I did really love is she kind of set up different aisles for me to look at, mapped out, so that I could visually see it, because I was really struggling with that visualization. So we talked about a circle. We kind of decided against that. We also talked about a wavy thing, because I've seen that all over Pinterest and I thought it was super cool, but it's very meticulous and you have to have a certain amount of chairs. It just wasn't playing out. So then we kind of settled on, which I thought was really cool. One more that we also simulated was, people are now doing the one where it's 2 rows and you walk down and you're at the end, but they face inward. And I didn't love that, but it was getting on the right track of what I wanted. So we actually combined a couple of the different ones. We decided we're doing a half circle behind where we'll stand. So basically I would walk down the aisle, and if you're not watching this on YouTube, I'm going to do my best to explain it verbally, but I would walk down a normal straight aisle and I'd stop at the end, and at the end there would actually be a half circle of a couple of rows, and in those rows we'll put bridal party and close family members. Then everything that when we walk down the aisle, those ones are slanted and they're kind of layered in rows. So it's 2 sides, layered rows, less than what you would have in a full row for a ceremony aisle, a traditional ceremony aisle. So it's kind of different. I feel until you see pictures of it, it's not going to really come to fruition of what that looks like. If you are a mental person that could follow that mental gymnastics I just did there, then you know exactly what it looks like. And tell me in the comments if you think that that's pretty cool or not. I think it's different. I think it's unique. So we'll be doing that with the chairs from Kate Ryan, which I'm super excited about. And then let's talk about my officiant. My officiant her name is Bonnie, and Bonnie is actually a Married in Tampa Bay vendor. She is fantastic. So we at first were not going to have an officiant. We were going to have family or family friends do the ceremony because we really wanted that personal touch. And that's something that I had a lot of brides come to me and say that they want, is they want that personal touch from a friend, a family member, and that's great. And that's fine and dandy, and that was where my head was at. And boy, did like the wedding process change that, because what happens is when you have somebody that knows you in that position, it becomes now partly their opinion on how you run the ceremony, which I wasn't loving. Kyle and I wanted to be in full control of what our ceremony looked like, under our values, and although we want to make, parents and everybody else happy, our priority was our wishes, because this ceremony is for us to promise to each other. And if that didn't feel authentic to us, then what's the point? At that point, why are you even doing that? You should just elope, or at that point, you're not getting married for each other, you're getting married for others. So it was really important that we kept those values strong, and when we had asked a couple of different other people if they'd be willing to do it, I feel like our values were getting lost because their values matter. And it's not that their opinions don't matter, but in this scenario, that's not what it's about. So we kind of pivoted, and that's when I decided, let me look into officiants. We did an interview with Bonnie. She was fantastic. She has years and years of experience. She's done every kind of wedding under the sun. I think she was telling us she did a Viking wedding a couple years ago. She used to do weddings in Vegas. She's done big, Christian weddings. She's done everything. So she comes with a lot of knowledge. She comes with a lot of different ideas, which I really loved because we were kind of struggling. My mom's one big, no-no zone was she wants to make sure it's not a 5-minute ceremony. And then on the other spectrum, we don't want people sitting there for an hour and bored out of their minds like a Catholic ceremony. So she wants that 30 to 40 minute range. So filling that time was something that I wanted to fill, but I didn't want to fill it just to fill it. I wanted it to be intentional. Bonnie came with so many ideas, so many concepts that really kind of brought to light different options that you could incorporate. So we picked a lot of our options. I'll keep those options a surprise. That'll be something that we keep to ourselves. But those options really helped build out and formulate the ceremony. She's just a really good guide from one thing to the other. She has such good ideas. She's got such a warm heart. So I'm super excited to have her a part of the ceremony. She's also been very helpful. Another reason to get an officiant. She's been very helpful and informative of how to go about getting our wedding license, insurance, joint insurance, things like that. She's just got the knowledge of the not so glamorous part of getting married, which is the legality of it, which people, I feel like they're oh, we're gonna have a wedding, we're gonna get married, and fully forget that this is a legal contract as well. You're basically going into business together, which should not be taken lightly. So Bonnie has been fantastic in that aspect. The other piece of the ceremony that is really important is my florals. My florals, I am using the flower smith. Her name is Allie. She is literally, I think I'm obsessed with her. I've got a little girl crush. She is the queen of all things in my world. She's so creative and fun. I started my floral journey, which we talked about on our last episode with Rachel, that Rachel was my florist, and I had the whole vision of we are doing dried florals. I really grew out of that really quickly, and I transitioned, and Allie is not a dried floral girly. She can obviously do it, but that's not her expertise. It's not what she loves to do. She even said that on her stories a couple of days, and I chuckled because that's not what she wants to do. She's a live florist expert. She's got these eccentric, whimsical ideas to it. It's very garden-esque. It gives me fairy princess vibes, which is kind of what I'm going for with that little vintage glam twist. So I just felt we really jived, we really fit. And I have absolutely loved everything about her personality along the way. Although we haven't even met yet, she has been attentive, she's responsive, she is creative, and has a billion ideas whenever I ask for them. She's conscientious of budget and being respectful of my time and my financial restrictions. It's just been a very magical experience. There's very few people I would highly recommend like that, and I just think the world of Allie. So she's fantastic. I'm not sure exactly. I think she's in the Lakeland area. I'm not sure where she lives, but I do know that she services Tampa. She'll service Orlando. She services both those places. So if you're looking for a florist like that, highly recommend. So Allie's got some really cool plans that would never have come to fruition if I hadn't booked her for the ceremony aisle and that kind of setup. And our unique arch, because we're not doing a full-on arch. I don't want to block viewpoints from people, especially with people behind us and in front of us. And she's also doing some really beautiful work on the Howie Mansion staircase, because that's a really big picture spot. At first I wasn't going to do anything there. My mom insisted. She's like, no, we definitely need some flow there. So I'm excited to see that vision of it. And then also not forgetting the fact that she's doing a flip. So this is something pretty common in the wedding industry that you might want to educate yourself on, figure out budget-wise what makes the most sense for you, because they charge more for flips sometimes, or it could be less because you're buying less materials, but they do it for rentals as well. And basically a flip is when they take anything from the ceremony and they put it in the reception space while everybody else is at cocktail hour. So I'm not doing a flip with my rentals because I am using the Howie Mansion's rentals for the reception. So Kate Ryan's stuff will be just moved off and that'll be done with. So, which I'm grateful for, because since it is Drew and Chris that we're going to be in charge of those rentals, I really didn't want to make Drew in the middle of the wedding, who she's attending as a guest, also, have to flip for my wedding. I wasn't going to make her do that. So a flip is kind of where you repurpose or reposition those items. So in this case scenario, Allie will be taking the aisle pieces and different aspects of that and repurposing them for the tables at the reception. So I think that she's going to crush it. She's got a great team, a big team that helps her out with everything. I'm excited to see what work she does there, but over the moon about everything so far with her in this process. Another vendor I'm absolutely girl crushing obsessed with is my wedding photographer. So there was a lot of drama with that, and I am going to save that for another episode because I have a guest coming on that I feel like can give me, I'm going to blind be asking him his opinion on it. I want to know exactly how he feels, and I want to see if I was in the wrong or in the right, but it will be the first time I've talked about my photographer. I've talked a lot online, especially TikTok, about my makeup experience, but I did not talk about my photographer experience, and I do think it's time to spill the tea on that. So stay tuned for that one. But my photographer has been so accommodating, especially because I had to change photographers kind of last minute. I mean, we were 6 months out, but when you booked them 11 months ago, it's really hard to cope with that new concept that you have a whole new photographer. But her name is Ashley J Photo. She has been phenomenal. Ashley goes back and forth between Montana and Florida, so she's kind of still getting her feet wet in Florida, but I don't know why she's just not the queen of Florida yet. Her edits are stunning, absolutely beautiful. Her communication and her personality could not be better. So attentive, so just loving and warm, and that's the kind of energy. I've said it again, I've said it before, I'll say it again because I strongly, strongly believe it. The energy that your vendors bring to your wedding day is what makes or break your wedding day. And I've been very, very strict and firm on that. If you're not excited to be my vendor, then just don't be my vendor. And that might seem like a lot or a little bit picky, but as a bride that works in the industry and knowing how things can go sour so quick, I've just really, really, really focused my energy on making sure that these things they flow and they happen naturally, and that I'm getting along with all of my vendors. So Ashley came about because I had a bad situation with a photographer, and I kind of reached out to her just to get her rates and everything. She was very accommodating since I did lose some money in that process, and she was very flexible in the fact that I also have not one but two amazing photographers, Brittany, and I will definitely be sharing both of their accounts. Brittany will be second shooting for Ashley at my wedding. It was something that Brittany reached out to me really wanting to do. I had already booked somebody at the time, and it just didn't play out the way we wanted it to. When Ashley came on, she was so accommodating, and yes, totally okay, that works, blah, blah, blah. So Brittany will be flying out from Michigan to also shoot my wedding. I have shot with Brittany before, and I love her work. It's absolutely beautiful. I cannot wait to see what they do together as a team. I feel like they're going to be a really dynamic duo and get along really well. They're very the same kind of energy and speed, but they're hype girls. And you need hype girl on your wedding. You've got, obviously, your bridesmaids, and they are your hype girls. But they're not the ones behind the camera that are going to hype you up during portraits, hyping you up while you're getting ready. Everybody's doing their own thing. Those are your people for the day. I would say, honestly, and it's not to, like, diminish any other vendors, but the most important vendors on your day are probably photographer and videographer, because you spend the most time with them. Planner is also in there, but even then, the planner's running around and doing other things for you so that you can enjoy the day, so they're not in your space. Photographers and videographers are in your space, so it's important who you pick. You need to make sure that it's the right fit for you. So all that being said, both of their edits and styles are exactly what I'm looking for. I do search for a more cinematic, moody, storytelling kind of photographer versus the traditional light, bright, and airy. Everybody has their style. I prefer authentic and candid moments. One thing we won't be doing is, I've made it very abundantly clear, I don't want a ton of, like, family portraits and posed pictures. I want natural moments. I want authentic, just movement, chatting with my girls. I'm not going to do that whole, I'll do a couple, like, group bridesmaid pictures, but I'd much rather have an individual picture with my maid of honor, individual picture with this best friend, individual picture with this best friend, because I feel like those, they resonate more with me. They resonate more with the people that are going to also have these photos for forever, because they're enjoying their day with you. I'd rather have that authentic moment of me hugging that aunt that's at the wedding, and, like, us chatting and talking and holding hands, than me posing and smiling next to her. That's just not my style. So picking a photographer can be very important. Look for the type of pictures they take stylistically wise. Look for how they edit. Look for the type of venues they shoot at. If they're, like, strictly a beach photographer, maybe if you're getting married in an Italian castle like I am, maybe that's not the vibe. Like, maybe do a little switch. So, like, finding somebody that really fits that niche of what you're looking for. Don't settle. That's, like, one. And their photographers are getting more and more expensive every day. So don't sleep on that cost. Videographer, as far as that goes, let me put you on my videographer. I am so excited for this. This was probably one of my biggest wedding splurges, and I do not regret it. I'm sure his prices have only risen since I signed my contract, because he has popped off, and that is Justin Porter Media. Justin Porter, I actually got him on TikTok 2 years ago, and I already started communicating with him before I got engaged, because I knew I wanted him to be my videographer. We were, like, spilling the tea on, like, okay, is he going to propose this week? Is he going to propose that week? I was, like, excited. And he has just done so good on his social media. People love him. He's got the charisma and personality. His team is awesome. And the quality of work speaks for itself. But the reason I actually booked him was, obviously his energy is great, but the big kicker for me was the style he shoots in. So it goes back to that photography aspect again of what kind of style is your photographer shooting in. And for him, he actually shoots his videos. It's not like your typical 5-minute, 10-minute wedding video with, like, maybe a couple vows in there, but otherwise cinematic looks. It's actually shot like a Netflix documentary. So you're paying for what you're getting. Obviously, he's more expensive. He mics, I believe last time we talked, there was, like, 16 mics. He said he might have more by January, so, like, we'll see. I need to do a little update with Justin. I haven't talked to him in a couple months. But he mics whoever you want it to be. But the groom and the bride are mic'd. Maid of honor, best man. If you want, I'm going to mic my dad. I probably won't mic my mom. She's not as, like, vocal and chatty as my dad is, but I know my dad's going to say funny shit on wedding day. So I want my dad mic'd. I want Kyle's boys mic'd. You can always pick, like, that fun aunt or uncle to mic them, but they're mic'd for the day. And the reason his videos are so intricate and take a little bit more time to get back as well is he's got mic'd footage from all day of all of these guys and women just speaking and talking. He sets you up with interviews. It's kind of almost, Kyle described it as, like, office style, where, like, there's an interview and then it cuts to, like, a scene. And I'm just super excited because it's our own wedding movie. And honestly, if you know me, my life is online and filmed like a movie, the good, bad, and ugly. I try and show it all, and I was like, why should this be any exception? My dad thinks it's silly. I will own that. Justin, if you're listening, my dad thinks this is silly. You've got to change his mind. But I know one day when we're all able to watch it back, he will not regret it. He will not regret that that's what we spent such a large chunk of that budget on, because it's a 15 to 20 minute movie of our love story and our wedding day. And I just think that it's the most financially just investment. I think it was the best choice still to spend that kind of money there. So those are, like, my my stars of the show, my videographer and my photographer, because they're capturing everything that we're going to remember. Everybody talks about how their wedding day is a blur and they hardly can remember it, drinking or no drinking. But you can't forget it if it's in a movie. So I'm just like super pumped about that. I think Justin's going to be a great addition. Justin is Houston based. So if you are a Houston listener, or you will actually, I think I'm going to have a few Texans popping in, especially next week. So hopefully they go back and watch this video. But my guest next week is actually Houston based, I believe, or Texas based. Pretty sure Houston. So reach out to Justin if you're Houston based, but if you're willing to pay travel, which the travel fee was actually not that bad. I was just responsible for paying their gas because they drive out in their own van to have all their equipment. And I think that was only like 100 or 200, and then making sure that they have accommodations for the night. And Justin's like, it's me and my boys, like, you can put us up in a tiny little hotel room, we bring an air mattress, like, we'll fit. So they were super accommodating, super wanting to make it work. And once again, it all comes back to that, like, just excitement for your couples. If you are a wedding vendor, you need to be excited for your couples. And if you're not excited, if you're not hyping up your couples, you're not contributing to the best day of their life. Just like let that one hit. Because if you want to contribute to somebody's wedding in a positive manner, you have to show up and do that. So I think that Justin's just another perfect example of that. Ashley is an incredible example of that. I've just been so blessed with such fantastic vendors. So yeah, that's where our video photo team lies. I feel like we've covered everything ceremony-wise. I am super excited. I am doing a dress change, and also I will say one of my dresses is from Truly Forever Bridal, which is a Marry Me Tampa Bay vendor that I absolutely love. Layla has the greatest little business model. For those of you that don't know and that aren't familiar with the bridal world, wedding dresses, kind of how they work is you go, you try things on, and then you order it. You place an order, and it'll be there in, mine took 8 months. So, no, 8 months, not 8 months. 6 months? I don't know. It took a long time. Like, I placed my order in December, and I got my dress in August. So, yeah, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. Yeah, 8-9 months. So it's a process. You need to start wedding shopping early for your dress, unless you have somebody like Layla. So Layla's whole system is that she buys all of her dresses outright from the designer, and then she sells them in the store. You leave that day with your dress. So Layla's dress that I am wearing is my reception dress, and I left the day that I tried it on with it. And then all I have to do is bring it back for alterations before the wedding, and yeah, I've had it since. So I have had my dress from Layla since December. It's been nice because, like, you want to look at it. You want to try it on and make sure it fits good throughout all the phases. I've kept it at my aunt's to keep it away from Kyle, but that's a huge key piece that I absolutely loved about Layla's system. She has everything in every size. She only lets you really try on things that are within your size window so that you don't fall in love with the dress. It's, like, absolutely going to be too hard to alter, or, like, she can't order it again for you. So their system is fantastic. I highly recommend trying Truly Forever Bridal. The other dress I got, so the reason I ended up going a couple other places is I have always had a little bit of a girly crush on a certain designer. I'm not going to say what designer because I feel like if I do that, they only make so many dresses and you could just go find it. So I am going to keep that to myself, but I did get a designer dress that has been a designer that I've always said that'll be the designer that I get married in. And I feel pretty confident in that choice. I got it actually from Isabel O'Neill, fantastic store in Tampa. I absolutely love the Isabel O'Neill team. They were so accommodating. They've been so helpful. They're great they're great people in the industry, and they're always very helpful to other industry members. I loved my experience there. They do carry a lot of designers that I absolutely loved, so it was kind of a no-brainer that I was going to go there, because although I knew I wanted this designer, I also really love another designer that they carry, so it was nice to get to try them both and compare and really decide which one I wanted. I definitely have, what I love about the designer I picked, it's very bare bones, and then you build it to what you want, because this designer custom makes it to you. It's not something that's just sitting around in a size in a factory somewhere. Like, it's custom made to you. So getting that was super great, and like being able to add pieces or take away pieces that I didn't want. I've accessorized very uniquely and differently. I wouldn't say, I feel like every bride is always like, oh, I've just never seen my dress. And then I see him in it, and I'm always like, I've seen this dress a billion times. I'm not saying that I am the exception to the rule. I think where I differ, it wasn't that my dress is any different than what other people are wearing or other women are wearing, but I do believe how I'm choosing to accessorize it is a little bit more... I'm a maximalist. My mother keeps telling me, is this too much, is this too much, is this too much? Like, don't want to overdo it, you don't want it to not match. I don't care. The more, the better. I don't agree with less is more. It'll never be me, it's not my personality. So you can expect and believe that I am doing the most with this ceremony look. I will be staying in that ceremony look, taking portraits in it, and then I have begged, and I highly recommend this. Well, I'll tell you if I recommend it after the wedding, but right now I'm super excited about, I begged my planner to pack in 15 minutes for me to attend my own cocktail hour. It felt silly to me that I have to throw a cocktail hour for people and I don't even get to experience or see it. I want to say hi to people in my ceremony dress and let them see it and like kind of experience me in it up close. Because yes, everybody can see me walk down the aisle. Then I run off to take portraits and sign a marriage license. So what's like, nobody's seeing that iconic dress that I put so much thought and energy and money and emotion into. So I was like, you know what, I want 15 minutes to go show myself off, say hi to family, hold Kyle's hand and walk around and like let everybody congratulate us. So I've built in that 15 minutes, and then we'll go back and I am going to change in my reception dress, and I've been really loving it's trending right now, so I am falling deep and head over heels into this trend. But I am going to be doing it's not a first look, but because we're not doing a first look, Kyle's very adamant he wants to see me walking down the aisle for the first time. My dad is walking me down the aisle. That is a tradition I love and do want to keep. I know some people think it's outdated, but I don't really care if he sees me in the reception dress before like everybody else. So he's going to help me get into my reception dress. I think that'll be a great photo opportunity as well. So I'm excited about that little piece. We'll get ready. Will be announced, and I'm in that new dress. We'll go straight into the ceremony, or the reception, the first dance. At first, I will say, and this is something that I might regret later down the line, but just like financially wasn't in the cards for us, and we'll talk more on budget later in another episode, but I really, really wanted to do first dance classes and like really have this extravagant first dance. We opted against it. It was like $500 or $600 for these classes, and I really, really wanted to, but it just didn't feel like the best financial investment when there was other things that I really wanted. So we're going to start trying to practice our dancing on our own. Wish us luck. I'm hoping for the best. But I'm excited nonetheless to do that first dance. I have a cute little element that I'm adding in there that has to do with my second dress because I have an accessory that I wanted to include one of my bridesmaids on. But yeah, so that piece, and then we'll kind of go into dinner. The Howie Mansion has a required caterer. That was one thing that at first I didn't love, that I didn't have control to pick, but I will tell you I don't regret it by any means. Arthur's Catering has been fantastic. Kyle and I did our food tasting, and the food was chef's kiss. They have great vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free options because I have a lot of friends and family that feel the need to have that kind of option, and I wanted to make sure everybody was accommodated. We are doing buffet style. I am not a huge plated dinner girly. I like to personally be in control of my portions, what I'm eating. Like, I might want more potatoes, but I might definitely not want any of those Brussels sprouts. So, like, giving people that freedom to do that, I'm super excited about. Some traditional things we aren't doing, no garter and bouquet toss. I talked about that with Rachel, so we won't reiterate. And I'm not doing a cake. We're doing the flaming donuts. So that's kind of, I feel like I talked catering with you guys with Rachel, so I won't beat a dead horse, but I'm excited about our catering. Super pumped about all of that. Let's see, where else can I go with this? What other vendors did I forget? Oh, I'm super excited for Kate Ryan, although I'm not using their chairs for the reception. I'm doing this really cool thing with wine that I'm going to let be a surprise, but I am using a wine rack from them. And then I'm also going to leave this other thing a surprise, but I am using some glasses from them too. So they're definitely incorporated and ingrained in the process. But yeah, that's kind of like where we're at. There's a ton of little hidden surprises in the wedding that Some Kyle knows, some Kyle doesn't, some everybody else knows, some people don't know. I'm just excited all around. I'm super excited about our bridesmaids and groomsmen's look. We are doing, I'll let you in on this little secret, it's not really a secret, I think I've mentioned it, but we're doing an all black guest list, so requiring all women to either wear black pants and tops or black dresses or black jumpsuits. I don't care what it is, as long as it's black, no pattern, nothing, it's straight black. And then men are welcome to wear black pants with a white shirt or a whole suit. I don't really care as long as it's black with like a white top and like there's no competing there. We really wanted our groomsmen and our bridesmaids to stand out because they're mix and match in different styles, colors, patterns. So I didn't want them to blend in with the group. So basically everybody in black except for the bridal party, my parents, Kyle's parents, and Bonnie, our officiant. I told her I'd rather she didn't wear black so people knew she was important and like part of that. And I'll probably ask my planner as well if she would like to not wear black, just so that people can identify who to ask questions to, because I think that's a big piece too, is a lot of the time if you have a question, you want to ask a vendor or you want to ask a bridal party member, and you can't identify them unless they're all dressed the same. So they'll be the outliers. Otherwise, yeah, I feel like, oh, I forgot another fantastic vendor, and it leads actually into my my wedding horror story that I can tell you. My hair and makeup. I have not actually had my hair trial. I had my hair trial in, I believe, 3 weeks, so we're really pushing it. But I am letting go and letting the universe take charge because I absolutely love my makeup artist, and this hairstylist is on her team. So I am just hoping for the best. What I want for my hair is very simple, so it's not something that somebody could really screw up, and I was more focused on my face looking like my face and the best form of it than I was worried about my hair. So like the hard part for me was makeup. When I found her, she was fantastic. I actually found her on TikTok, so that leads me into my story on how I found Jillian, and then I'll tell you all about Jillian. So when I was looking and doing the hair and makeup process, I was having a really hard time. I was doing trials, and I do believe a lot of my issue was my verbiage, and I learned my lesson on certain things I should say and not say. I was going into my trials and being like, hey, I'm a very natural girl. I don't wear a lot of makeup. Can we keep it kind of on the natural route? I want to look like myself. And I think I was intimidating artists by doing that, because then they were really like pulling back. They weren't doing contour. Like, I felt like my face looked pale and round because they were afraid to like use bronzers and contour and color. And it's not that I didn't want that. I just didn't want to feel like thick, like I had like layers on my face, and I just didn't portray that right. So I just kept getting makeup that I didn't really love, or it was outlandishly heavy, and I just couldn't really win. So I went through quite a few makeup trials, all that I paid for, and I was feeling a little depleted and kind of like, okay, I am just running out of cash to be doing this. I'm not liking them. I was having a hard time. So I ended up actually connecting with a girl on Instagram. She actually reached out to me, and she's like, if you ever do any styled shoots, I would love to do makeup on them. And I said, how about one better? Would you like to do my makeup for my bridal shower? And I was like, I mean, I can pay, like it can be a trial, but like I might want to use you for my wedding. I really like your work. I very much like makeup from Charlotte Tilbury, and I like the Charlotte Tilbury makeup artist look that a lot of artists do. So she used a lot of those products. I already felt like I was in good hands. And she's like, yes, I would love to do your makeup for your bridal shower. I promised her basically like that she could use the pictures on her page, and like it was kind of going to be a trade. Because I knew I was getting professional photos done. I did hire a fantastic photographer. His name is Aaron. He does a lot of my photography. He did my bridal shower. So we kind of had a tradesy deal. So I didn't end up having to pay for the trial, which was really nice. All of my bridesmaids were in town. She came in. She shot the shit with us. We had a really good time with her. We all really liked her, and I loved my makeup. It wasn't too heavy. It was glowy. It was really beautiful, and I felt so confident that day, even though I was hungover and like was super pumped. Booked her immediately. She sent me a contract. I signed the contract. I paid her deposits, all of that kind of jazz. I thought we were good, all set. All of a sudden, one day I texted her, and I was like, hey, and I'm still working through this issue, but Jillian has been super accommodating and helpful in it. Basically, the Howie Mansion doesn't let you on property until 11. I have 8 bridesmaids. Not all of them are getting makeup, but like it's a combination. Like some girls are just doing hair, some doing hair and makeup, some are doing just makeup. And then I also have my mom. So you've got already, oh, and Kyle's mom is also doing it. So you've got already 10 out the gate, plus me doing hair and makeup. And you just don't have enough time if you're going in at 11. And they've got this beautiful setup where you can get ready, and it's beautiful, this beautiful balcony. I had this vision because it's January of getting ready outside. I was pumped about that. But we won't know until like basically a month before if we can get in early, because there is an event the night before, and that determines whether or not we can come in at 10 or 11, and even 10 wasn't going to give us enough time. So we're staying at a hotel very close by, a 2-minute walk. It's a 2-minute walk from the Howie to the hotel we're staying at. So I kind of just texted her and I was like, hey girl, I was wondering if you would be willing to do a venue change after you do everybody at the hotel. Would you mind just doing me at the venue so I can have my pictures getting ready at the venue? I thought this was a very reasonable ask. I've had mixed opinions, because I have posted this online. I've had mixed opinions from makeup artists basically saying, oh, I never do a venue change. I've had people say, you're more than welcome to ask. It doesn't mean I'm going to do it. I've had people say, wow, that's so unreasonable. I've had people say, I don't care if you do a venue change. I just charge you for it. I've heard every opinion feeling on it. I just feel like the way this took a turn was a little weird. I basically was like, yeah, can you do that? And instead of coming back and being like, oh yeah, it's like an extra fee or something like that, she was like, I don't do venue changes. And then without me even respond, like I hadn't even responded, this is all in one paragraph, she goes, I don't do venue changes, and I think it's best that we like cancel this contract. I feel like I can't fulfill your dreams, and that you'll never, like, I'll never live up to what you want, like blah 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 blah. Which, mind you, we had had no conversation since my bridal shower since that. Like, I was like, where have I given an expectation that I'm requiring too much? I just asked if you would change venues, and even if she had said no, I don't do that, I would have been like, okay, I'll get married at the, or I'll get ready at the hotel, and that would have been fine. That would have been the end of it. But she goes on this long rant, and she's like, yeah, I'm going to be canceling your contract. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I texted all of the bridesmaids in my group chat. I sent a picture of the text, and I was like, where did I go wrong? And everybody was kind of like flabbergasted. She did send me my deposit back, which I was very clear about that online, and I thought that was very important because, like, obviously, like, she didn't just take the deposit and run. I would have had a huge problem with that. But it was just frustrating because, like I said, like, I finally found after this long journey somebody that I liked, and she just like, nope. And I was like, what the absolute fuck? So that was really weird to me. A lot of people online were very much like, oh, it's because she felt like your request was already difficult, so you were going to be a difficult bride day of, and that she couldn't please you. Or, oh, she probably double booked herself and didn't know how to do it. Or, oh, she like didn't know how to let you go. Like, everybody had, like, and this is all makeup artists on my comment section, but like everybody kind of had an answer for me of why she did that. And like, I don't know what's true and what's not, and I obviously don't know her story, but that's kind of where it left off. And so when I posted all of this, because it was from a place of like hurt and frustration. I was like, what am I doing wrong here? Like, why is it that when I finally find a vendor I love, they're just not interested? And it was frustrating, and that's when I had Jillian reach out. So Jillian actually is technically not in my location. She actually just moved, and she also services the Orlando area. And I was not really pursuing Orlando artists at the time because it was too hard to get trials done there. It's just kind of far from me. So I hadn't really pursued anybody over there or really looked into it. But she reached out to me in TikTok DMs. We started chatting. Her energy is absolutely fantastic. She's very my speed. I feel like she's very knowledgeable as well. She also uses a lot of the products that I absolutely love and already use. And I went into it with a different mindset. I basically told her, hey, I don't like heavy, but I don't want to be undefined. I want contour. I do want those things. I just want to still look like me. She took my notes. She was comprehensive and understanding. She gave me a free trial because, like, she found my video and she was like, I don't want you to spend any more money on this. She had confidence that I just absolutely love. She was like, I'm confident that you're going to book me, so let's go ahead and do this free trial. And when you book me, like, we'll figure out the rest. So I actually did a girls trip in Fort Lauderdale in, I think it was early September or late August. And she came to the Airbnb, since that's kind of closer to where she lives, and she did my trial. I looked fantastic. I get compliments. I took pictures that night because, like, we were doing an event, and I get compliments on my makeup for those pictures all the time. She really, even were places where, like, in past makeup artist experiences where I'd been like, oh, this feels heavy, anytime I felt a certain way, she explained why she did it that way and how it's going to wear off during the day and all of those different things. So she's been very accommodating. She has no problem with a venue change. There might be a fee to that depending what it is, but I don't think we're going to have to do a venue change anymore. I kind of worked some things out, but we're still playing with that, so she's just super accommodating. That's the only thing, though, is she just does makeup, so she's got a hair girl that she does on the side, or she has multiple, and the one that's available for my date, I have not had a chance to do the trial, so I'm super excited to meet her and make sure I love that as well. But I am booked, signed in on that contract, and I'm thrilled about it. I feel like that's the first person you're going to be with in the morning, even before the photographer gets there and the videographer gets there. I'm with Jillian, so Jillian's got to be my hype queen, and I'm super pumped about that. But yeah, just that experience was just, it soured me so much. I was like, I can't look at another makeup artist for a very long time. But it works out how it's supposed to, and I feel like just like the photography thing that worked out how it's supposed to, I know that those vendors now will not be an issue day of and only want the best for me, my emotions, Kyle and I's marriage. They're like on our team. Sorry, I'm doing a lot of talking and like my throat's dry. Per usual, you know, we're still getting used to this whole Gabby talks for an hour to herself thing, which clearly I don't seem to have a problem with. I just lose my voice halfway through. But basically, I just think that I'm excited for that next step in the journey, which is going to just be enjoying and reaping all the benefits of all the hard work. So it's been a really interesting, fun process, chaotic process, but I wouldn't change any of it. I've had a blast doing it. I'm so excited. I feel so confident right now, and like the bridesmaids that I have, Kyle's groomsmen, are all people that like really, really love us and want the best for us, and I feel like that's the most important piece. Like, guests aside, there's always going to be a guest there that you're like, we could have done without them, or they're invited because of so-and-so, or they're invited because they're family, but like, I think at the end of the day, who you have standing next to you, those groomsmen, those bridesmaids, those vendors, you picked them. Those are your pick. Like, there's a lot of guests that you don't get to pick, especially if your parents are involved in the wedding process. Like, there's a lot of people that like are important to your parents, and since they're helping financially or emotionally with that journey, you want your parents to have those says in that. But I think the key is like the people that you get to pick, which are those bridesmaids, those vendors, making sure they're perfect for you is just, I don't know. I feel so confident in what I have right now. I have no doubts, no second guesses, no regrets. I feel good. I'm feeling good, guys. So that's kind of where I'm at with these last 2 months of planning. It's gonna be crazy. I'm podcasting through the next 3 months, so all the way through wedding month, so you better be listening. I might have to pre-film a lot of that, especially during wedding week, but I'll make sure it's posted. I am on top of it. You guys are going to be blown away because I'm getting married on a Friday, and you best believe the Thursday before there will be an episode for you. So there's that. Let's end on a more funny note, though. I'm going to read some wedding Reddit stories, and basically you can tell me if you think that's wild, they're the asshole, how do you feel about that, blah, blah, blah. But let's get into it. This one says, at my cousin's wedding, I paid my dollar during the dollar dance to dance with her new husband. It was really hot and he was really sweating, like dripping on the floor, sweaty. When we were dancing, he tried to spin me, slipped on his own sweat, and pulled down my, of course, strapless dress. Only one boob fell out, but it was still one too many. Luckily, everyone was kind enough to pretend they didn't even notice and have never mentioned it to this day, about 14 years later. I've got some problems with this one. Dollar dance. I think outdated, personally. I feel like I might have talked about this on a TikTok somewhere, but I think they're weird. Like, I don't know. I don't like a dollar dance. You guys can come at me for that. I'd rather you have a honeymoon fund jar out. I obviously, that's something I didn't talk about. For our registry, we're doing a honeymoon fund kind of registry where you can buy an activity on our honeymoon. That's a great way to kind of have a great honeymoon, have all expenses paid, things like that. but also at the wedding, just because I know like so many people are so used to getting gifts that I feel like a lot of people are going to forget to get anything on the registry. I'm going to put a reminder QR code out that basically says, hey, don't forget, like if you haven't gotten anything for the honeymoon fund yet, here's a QR code and you can send something. So having little details like that for signage, which I also forgot to talk about. Signage, I feel like there's so many little details in vendors that I forget everything, and I shouldn't. But another fantastic vendor that I have is my signage girly. She did my stationery, and if you are somebody that's listening that is coming to my wedding, those are those beautiful little invites you got in the mail that are works of art. Gorgeous. I can't wait to share those. Obviously it has a lot of information on it right now, so I haven't shared those on social media, but I will be sharing my invitations because they are absolutely beautiful. She made those. She'll also be doing our welcome sign, our seating chart, other little tidbits all around the wedding. She's fantastic. Her name's Katie, KLM Calligraphy. She just had a baby and she's still been doing all this for me. She is a rock star. I can't wait to see all of the different signage she creates for the wedding day. 10 out of 10. That vendor, she also is a little hype queen too. She gets me excited. She's creative, and she takes, I have a lot of creative vision and very lacking of execution. Rachel, who was on last week, could tell you, Rachel's my creative girly. I'll bring her an idea and she'll create it for me. I have vision and I have no skill sets. So Katie's been my girl, but I just think that the dollar dance is, and that just proved it. Your boob came out on the groom. Not a fan. Next one. Wedding photographer here. Easily the worst was when the father of the groom, apparently entirely sober, gave a 10-minute toast that devolved into openly complaining that his son got to have sex with the bride and he didn't. And this wasn't a mistimed joke about how pretty she was. This was a full-on lament about growing old and how women didn't find him attractive anymore and that all he wanted was to take his daughter-in-law to bed. Speeches. This leads me into the speeches conversation. Be very intentional with who you give a speech. I love that Kyle did this. It's one of the funniest things, and I still think about it, and it's like a little funny joke to me. But he basically flat out looked at me at one point and was like, I love my groomsmen, but some of them are, he made a joke, and he called them illiterate. But at the core, he meant that some of them are just not meant for public speaking, and that's okay. Give them some other thing that makes them feel special. Like I told him one of his groomsmen that he thinks is illiterate and shouldn't have a speech. I was like, you know what? He can hold the rings. He could screw it up, but I don't think he's going to screw that up. Like there's options for your bridal party to do that isn't overwhelming. I have a friend that I love to death, and I'll put her on blast. She listens. Hi, Bree. Bree is fantastic. I did not want to overwhelm you or make you nervous to have to give a speech. So instead, I gave her a reading for the ceremony, and I'm so excited to see what she picks, where it goes. But that ability to read instead of having to like be nervous, like you get to look down at something, you get to read. I don't want anybody that isn't full send, super confident to do anything they don't want to do. So speeches, be intentional with who you pick. You don't have to pick your maid of honor and your best man just because they're your maid of honor and your best man. That's a conversation you guys can have as a couple and with your maid of honor and best man. Parents don't have to give a speech unless you want them to. My dad will give a speech. He's a fantastic public speaker. My mom has claimed she does not want to talk at the wedding at all. A-okay with me. My parents are the most involved of family in this wedding. They're responsible for most of it. So I really want my dad to be able to thank people for coming, have that moment for himself to share, but knowing full well that my dad would never say anything inappropriate. So be cautious with who you pick, be intentional with who you pick, and don't make people sit through more than like 3 or 4. I think 4 is even much. If they're 3 to 4 short ones, that's fine. Otherwise, like my plan, maid of honor, best man, dad, done. That's plenty. Also, when it comes to the couple giving a speech, decide if you want that to be the bride or the groom. I haven't really decided that yet, and that's something I need to talk to Kyle about, but who wants to speak on our behalf? Is that something that Kyle would like to do? Would he rather I take the lead? Figuring out that aspect of things is going to be really important as well. Next story. Not my story, but my friend's, and actually it was at her cousin's wedding reception. When the guests sat down at the table, everyone had an envelope on a plate with pictures of the bride in a compromising situation with, I think, the best man. The bride cheated on the groom both when they were dating and when they were engaged, which he found out shortly before the wedding. The groom had no mercy, and I respect that. How do we feel about petty moves at weddings? I think that was well-deserved. I think that that's funny. But that should have only come from the groom. No groomsmen should have been doing that. No bridesmaid should have been doing that. Like, that has to be between the bride and the groom. Otherwise, if you're a bridesmaid and you know about something you probably shouldn't, I think it's best to just quietly tell the people involved. But if you want to be petty because you're the bride or the groom, you be petty. After the ceremony, everyone got up except for one very old and frail-looking lady. It transpired had passed away during the... Oh, shit. Oh, okay. Sorry. I haven't read these prior. These are just, like, ones I'm reading. So she died at the ceremony. That would honestly haunt me. I think that I'd be like, oh my god, did my marriage kill her? Yikes. Okay, next one. My cousin was arrested at my wedding reception. He decided to steal a golf cart at the country club where the reception was held. See, and the funny part is I feel like I see a couple of people at our wedding trying to do that. And we are getting married very close to a golf course, so stay tuned for that one. My mother remarried 3 years ago to a fire chief of a major city. During the wedding ceremony, after the vows, and right before my new stepfather was about to speak, one of my worst fears as a parent happened. I just quietly told my daughter of 5 at the time to sit in her chair correctly. She was sitting on her knees in the chair, trying to see amongst the crowd of tables. As she was transitioning to sit on her butt, she missed her hand placement on the table, slipped, and fell to the floor with the fork that she was eating cake with lodged directly in the back of her scalp. Well, you know, at least that means that you have EMS team right there. Like, I'm sure if he's the firefighter, not police, but firefighter chief, he's going to have all his firefighter buddies there. You're fine. It'll be fine. I feel like accidents happen and they make for great stories later. But I'm glad she was okay. It does say that she was okay. My significant other's parents witnessed this at an Irish wedding. The groom held a toast thanking the best man for doing so much for him and anything he asked for, and ended with, "But I don't remember asking you to fuck my wife," and walked out. Turns out it was true as well. Wow, lots of cheating scandals coming out of weddings. I don't know. I just feel like the mature thing to do is kind of handle that before you pay all that money for everybody to be there. I get like revenge is sweet, but I don't know. Not how I would handle things. At the who objects part, the mothers of both yelled at each other about their kids deserving better. They still went on with the wedding. Their first dance was with the 2 dogs and not each other. Oh no. The groom ran full sprint around the wedding reception hall, double-fisting bottles of beer. He slipped on the ground and dislocated both of his hips. His father popped them both back in while the groom screamed through tears while still clutching the beers. Honestly, that just sounds like a good party and a good story to me. I wouldn't even be mad. I'd laugh. I used to work at a banquet server as a very expensive banquet center. 100K weddings were the norm. One wedding I was working, stepmom of the groom called the bride a slut, so mother of the bride punched stepmom of the groom in the face. Honestly, as she deserves. No, don't fuck with my kid. When our son got married, we had a very nice catered dinner at a local facility. The caterer was not affiliated with the facility. People started dropping from food poisoning. The State Department of Health got involved and someone called them and took all the leftovers from us. We never did find out exactly what the source was. I always felt like it was something in the facility's kitchen. It was possibly the dirtiest place I had ever seen. The food, though, was delicious, even though probably 40 to 50% of the guests got sick. I feel like there was a story once about people getting fed something at a wedding unknowingly. I don't want to say it was like cannibalism, but why do I feel like there was something like that? I'll have to do some research and like post an article of the story if I find it after I post this episode, but I feel like that was something too. I feel like there was a whole thing of like somebody made somebody eat something. I don't know. Maybe I'm off base. On sad stories, we could talk about that heartbreaking case. This is more like it's not a true crime case because they obviously caught the person, but drunk driving case where the newlyweds had just gotten married and they drove away in a golf cart and got hit by a drunk driver, and that drunk driver also sped off and tried to hide it. Absolutely devastating. I feel for that family and that experience. That groom had to wake up without his wife, and it's just heartbreaking. I did not mean to end this episode on such a sad note. I shouldn't have brought that up. Maybe I should cut that out. Probably won't. But, yeah, that's my wedding experience for the last 2 months. We are in the home stretch. I am pumped. I don't know. I feel like I'm sure every bride thinks it's going to be the party of a lifetime. And I'm sure it will be for me. I know that doesn't mean it's everybody else's party of a lifetime. But, if there's one thing I do it's throw a good event. So I feel like this is my Super Bowl. Okay? I throw events like once a month, as you guys know from social media and attending them. I throw girls events, I throw trips, I do so much event planning. This is my Super Bowl. Actually, this is my Olympics. This is bigger than the Super Bowl. This is worldly. So, yeah, that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you guys for tuning in and listening to me talk painfully for an hour by myself. I hear toe beans out there, which means my dog needs my attention. But I appreciate you guys all. Tune in for next week to have a special guest, somebody that I'm sure none of you are familiar with because he runs in the wedding industry. Unless you're a wedding member, if you're a wedding industry member, you know exactly who this is going to be. If not, stay tuned for some really great insight next week from somebody that has so much information for you, and plenty more to come this season on our wedding journey. And then also don't forget, we change themes every month, so December and January will be different. That is my house cleaning for today. So thank you so much, and bye.